to the Gaming Discourse. I'm Tyler Frater, alongside Richard De La Cruz, who is not here today, and Chief Engineer, Lieutenant Commander Connor Frater.
Good evening.
It is Monday, March 31st, 2025. Go check us out, patreon.com/The Gaming Discourse. There was a big announcement this week, or this past week. I made the post about it yesterday. I'm working on a very big project. Patrons will know what it is. I'm not going to announce it publicly just because I don't know how it's going to turn out. So I want to put more work into it before talking about it, like, you know, on the podcast and stuff like that. But yeah, if you go to our Patreon, $247, $10, paid members, you can see the post I made most recently. About a big project, breaking down what it is, what I want to do, how long it's going to take, stuff like that. So yeah, go check that out. There's lots of interesting details there, as well as a plan for how the rest of the summer is going to shake out content-wise. Things are up in the air. Things are fluid. So there isn't a set-in-stone plan at the moment. But as I go forward, it's going to be sort of a play by ear. When do I feel comfortable to transition to doing other things? I want to finish my Splinter Cell retrospective sometime this summer, so I don't know if I'll start that process in May or June or July, whatever. But yeah, if you go to our Patreon page, weekly updates are there, and I will share whenever I have updates on those things. YouTube.com/Gaming Discourse. That's where we post all our videos. Latest video is a review of Eternal Strands by Yellowbird Games. Yeah, go check that out. So I've been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Shadows. I've been playing some IL-2 Stormavik. Connor, you've been playing some MLB as the Colorado Rockies, and you're leading your division right now. So
not anymore.
Oh no.
So when I last posted a screenshot, what was it? We were 17 games into the season, at a 10-7 record. Now we are 66 games into the season, and I am at 40-26, and the Dodgers are 42-26.
Oh, okay, nice.
So they're just ahead. Yeah, it has been a stressful 40-win season so far.
And we got a lot of injuries. What's going on?
Well, we just had our first big injury. I ended up trading a couple minor leaguers for one of San Diego's backup right fielders, Connor Joe rather.
Okay. He used to play in Colorado.
Yeah. And he just had he suffered an ankle dislocation. So. Oh no! So he's out for 6 months.
Damn.
Yeah, he was swapping out in right field, depending on left-handed pitcher, right-handed pitcher, that sort of situation.
He had a platoon setup going.
Yeah. And it's been, like I said, it has been stressful. We're never not never. There are some games where all right, we have a commanding lead in the fifth inning and it just carries from there. Most of our wins are ninth inning or extra innings.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, that could be stressful.
Kind of. Yeah. I'm waiting for the floor to fall out and everything just to collapse, but it hasn't yet. I think one of the big turnarounds that I had was, I forget who I sent down to minor leagues, but I sent one of the starting pitchers down to the minor leagues, and I picked up Jose Quintana.
Okay.
Who out of the gate went 5 straight wins.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And, yeah, was throwing ridiculous. He was for the first 5 games he pitched, he was below 2 ERA. He was just lighting it up. And then I forget exactly who it was against, but he gave up a bunch of runs, and then he started getting some losses, and it's mellowed out. But I've reined in the pitching, even though we're 29th in pitching out of 30. We're doing okay. We'll have games where we lose by 1 or 2 runs, and then we'll have games where we lose by like 10 runs. So it's feast and famine. I don't know how we're at 40-26, but we are.
All right, nice. Well, that's a pretty good season thus far. 60 games in.
Yeah.
So yeah, keep that going. Playing anything else or just MLB?
Just MLB, and I went through, because we're getting close to that point in the season. I went through the All-Star voting.
Mm-hmm.
None of my players are breaking the top 10.
Nice. You got one of those seasons where it's a smaller market team with zero payroll and you're making headlines. That's
making
always
money moves, making headlines.
That's always a fun season. Now the big thing is going to be at near the trade deadline, if you're able to make a big splash and sign a star to really put a sort of a tent pole in that lineup somewhere.
To avoid sounding too much like a Little League coach, the reason why we're at a 40 win season so far is because they're just playing fundamental baseball.
Keeping the errors down, throwing to the right base, taking pitches as they come.
It's this weird situation I'm in. Most of my position players, first, second, third, shortstop, all my infielders are second in their Golden Glove category.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And we have very few errors. They're all at 1,000 fielding. It's just everyone else that's in front of them has 1,000 fielding, and then like a couple more putouts and assists.
Ah, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Cool. Well, sounds fun. All right. I've been playing IL2 Stormovik. A couple weeks ago, I picked up the Normandy expansion, which adds a campaign and career mode, a couple campaigns that revolve around France, England, and then a career mode, and you pick either Allied or Axis. You fly out of obviously France or England, and you do daily missions in career mode. I chose the Mosquito, which is a British light bomber / multi-role night fighter. The Mosquito was famous because it was made out of wood. It was a very light aircraft, and one of the reasons the whole design philosophy behind it was just going to be fast as hell. So for that, it was made out of wood, and that obviously made it way less, which meant it was going to go much faster. So it was a sort of a strike, I don't know, like a hit and run type aircraft. It wasn't really meant to do mano-a-mano dogfighting kind of thing. But so I've been doing a career mode in that. It's pretty cool because the Mosquito, the missions that I run at night, so it's pretty intense. Everything's dark outside. The game goes kind of black and white-ish. It's kind of interesting. So you can still see things. You can still see the ground. But the ground can sneak up on you, and the ocean can too, because the ocean's really tough to see. So if you're flying above the ocean, you have to be careful and watch your altitude. But as I've been playing a little more IL2, I've been trying to learn the mechanics of the aircraft a little bit more. I have not figured out how to land the Mosquito. I can land it, but when whatever happens when I get down to around 40 miles an hour, I land it, it's fine. I bounce a couple times, but I'm landed, and then something happens where the Mosquito spins, and I topple and spin on one of the wings, and it'll destroy one of the propellers and break the engine, and I'm fine. My pilot survives, but it's just when I get down to 40, 50 miles an hour, the plane spins out on the runway. I have no idea why. I don't know which buttons are for the wheel brakes or if there are brakes. I don't know if I need to hit those or what. But other than that, I think I've gotten pretty okay at flying it and trying to learn it and learning its speed and maneuverability and stuff like that. And yeah, when you hop over to flying a fighter like a P-51 or something like that, you can already feel how much more maneuverable they are. But yeah, the Mosquito, what it lacks in, at least it feels like what it lacks in maneuverability, it makes up for in just straightaway speed. Running away is a real option. And it's really intense when you do. So the missions mostly have consisted of raids on German airfields. So your mission is just fly out to this airfield, bomb and shoot what you can bomb and shoot, and fly back. And it gets intense because they have spotlights. that the airfields. So as you're flying, as you get near the airfield, all the spotlights go up and they start scanning the sky. And you can dodge them, fly around them, but if they catch on to you, they lock on to you, and then the AA starts coming at you. So you have to try and like shake them off somehow. So there's a little dynamic there where if it's just during the day, they see you because it's day, so they're going to shoot at you. But at night, there's that added tension where you got these spotlights flying around you. That's really cool to see in
cat and mouse.
Yeah, to see in VR. And also it's added intense because you can take out these spotlights. So if a spotlight is shining the opposite direction away from me, I will make a run at one. And there's those 10 seconds where it's like, don't look my way, don't look my way, don't look my way. Because if it looks, you're headed straight at it. So so the AA gun next to it's got an easy shot. But if it doesn't, you can let loose on that cannon, a couple bursts, and it'll take it out, and you'll be okay. But yeah, IL-2 Sturmovik, I'll play more of that. I'm having a lot of fun with it. So Assassin's Creed Shadows continues to get better, and I continue to get more and more interested in. So all the reviews said it started slow, and then once you got to the point where you could swap between Yasuke and I always forget how to pronounce her name, Noe and Yasuke. Once you get to the point where you can swap between them, the game really begins to open up. It becomes much better, and I can say wholeheartedly, yes, it does. Because for the first like 5 hours or so, you play only as Noe, and you're kind of doing her stuff. Then eventually you meet Yasuke, and now they're sort of working together. I think the story is really interesting. Both characters are really distinct. Noe and Yasuke both come from interesting places. Noe obviously is Japanese. Yasuke, I don't remember where Yasuke is from, but Yasuke was Oda Nobunaga sort of takes him under his wing, makes him a samurai. There's an entire quest chain where through flashbacks, you see Yasuke's training, and he goes through this really rigorous like samurai training where he gets his ass kicked a bunch by master swordsman and stuff like that. It's really cool to see. And then he sort of learns their combat, learns their politics and stuff like that. It is really reminiscent of Shogun, the TV show that came out last year, the Hulu TV show, which was lauded and is an excellent show. But also I'm fairly certain that the two historical events are similar to one another. Shogun is historical fiction. They changed the names, but I'm pretty sure that one of the main characters in Shogun, I believe, is based on Ieyasu Tokugawa. Tokugawa was a real guy, and he's in Assassin's Creed Shadows, but at this point he is still not the powerful person he goes on to be. At this point, when you begin Assassin's Creed Shadows, Oda Nobunaga is still doing his great unifying. So he's going around trying to force everybody to like unify under one banner. And Tokugawa is allied with him, but Tokugawa has not become like the main guy. Like I think later on, I don't know a whole lot about like Japanese history, so I apologize. But I want to say Tokugawa eventually becomes shogun, maybe, or not emperor, but like one of those premier titles that's like really powerful. I'm not sure what it is, but in any case, so I won't spoil too much about the story, but Yasuke and Noe end up allying with each other, obviously, where they start off not as allies. And so they kind of have to navigate this world where politics are changing, who's allied to who, motives are changing. It's very mysterious and interesting and politically heavy. Like, not just in the sense that it's like, oh, this guy's allied to this guy. It's politically heavy in the sense that, and this was the same thing with Shogun, is you're sort of immersed in this culture where things are done a certain way. And instead of it being explained to you, it's just, which I guess in Shogun it was a little bit, because it was about an Englishman who, like a guy from Britain who gets thrown into this culture and has to learn his way through it. But Yasuke has like more experience with it. So it's about Yasuke sort of navigating things like honor and duty and loyalty to Oda Nobunaga, while the power of the land is shifting into different hands and stuff like that. I'm not explaining that very well, but it's interesting. And I think that's good historical fiction, because like Oda Nobunaga like kills people, like he goes out to kill people because he's a conqueror, right? And so by like our modern day morality, that's horrible, right? At least I would think most people would agree that's horrible. But feudal Japan, feudal England, medieval Europe, whatever, all those different places in history, life was different and things were different. That's not to shove immorality or crimes against humanity or anything like that under the rug, but that's just the way the world was, unfortunately. So instead of these characters having like this modern morality sort of grafted onto them, I think the game is doing a good job trying to show characters acting in a way that people would have actually acted or behaved or reacted to certain political upheavals back then. And I think that's incredibly difficult to write. Assassin's Creed Shadows, like a lot of Ubisoft stuff, is incredibly ambitious. I mean, you have two main characters. They both are different, right? So Yasuke is a tank. I mean, he is a middle linebacker. He's really big. Even his armor sounds like football pads when he runs around. It kind of makes me nostalgic. But in the game, there are like these archetypes. There are normal sized enemies, and then there are like bigger enemies, right? In a lot of video gamey ways. Well, Yasuke is sort of one of the bigger enemies, but he's obviously a protagonist. But so his entire combat is he's just a tank. He's better at fighting groups of enemies. You can sneak with him. You can lay down and hide in bushes, but you don't want to stealth into places because he's really slow. Climbing up things takes forever. He doesn't have all of like the assassin training that Noe has. So it's actually funny. You can do a assassin leap of faith with him. It's funny what happens though, because he's never been trained. He doesn't know the leap of faith. So you can do it, but it's not exactly graceful. Where Noe she's a shinobi, she's a ninja, right? So she's much easier to control when you're climbing things. She has a grappling hook that can latch on to any roof. So like no matter where you are, you can toss, if there's a roof above you, toss the grappling hook, you're up there in a second. She can hide in bushes, just like Yasuke, but she's smaller. So it's like she can hide in more places. And she has obviously her assassin's blade. So Yasuke can assassinate people too, but he assassinates them by just stabbing them in the chest with his weapon or something, right? Like it's not subtle. Where Noe does the Assassin's Creed thing where, she stabs him in the neck or something like that. So these characters play completely differently. They also have distinct personalities. Noe is driven by revenge. She's a little more, I think, she's a little more abrasive, where Yasuke, I think, is a little more of has a bit of a gentler soul, but is in no way less lethal. Like he is trained, he's been trained by a master, samurai how to fight. So he's incredibly skilled, but their personalities, I think, are really distinct. And their motivations are distinct, and seeing them interact with each other, seeing how they ally is interesting. And the other interesting part is I don't think Noe knows what the Assassin's Order is yet, because it's clear that her father, like I said, I don't want to spoil too much, and most of that stuff happens right at the beginning of the game anyway, but it's clear that her father sort of understood what the Order of League of Assassins was, and he taught Noe a lot of the assassin's tricks, but I haven't seen the indication that Noe has been told, hey, by the way, these things you're learning, it's a part of this this
secret
society that's existed for 1,000 years or whatever. And here are our beliefs, and she hasn't been told that yet. So it's like she has a lightsaber and the Force, but excuse me, she doesn't know what the Jedi Order is. Oh, so that's interesting. But yeah,
so she's Rey, is what you're saying.
Sure. No, but so I've been really intrigued by the story and how it delivers quests and stuff like that. It's non-linear. Mm-hmm. You talk with somebody and they're like, hey, there's this gang of dudes, this gang of Ronin. They're creating problems. And then you go to the quest, and Assassin's Creed Mirage was like this too. I'm not sure about other Assassin's Creeds. But then you go to the objective board and just a little circle appears with all the Ronin that you have to track on it. And it's just like, okay, here are all the guys. And when you hover over one, it'll say he is in the western part of this town. He hangs out by this temple. So you have to use scouts to like track his approximate position. And then once you track his approximate position, you head there and you just have to actually find him by looking around. So instead of it giving you like direct quest markers, it's this non-linear quest design where instead of like going A to B to C, it's sort of a spider web that points in all different directions, and you kind of just have to jump between whatever is available. It'll tell you what objectives are above your level, like if it's a level 35 objective and you're like, I'm level 19, so there are objectives that I have that are like recommended for level 35 characters, so it's like, okay, I have to wait to do that. But other than that, like, it's pretty open-ended about like where you want to go, what you want to tackle first and whatnot. And yeah, so and the game did get better once so like if anybody who is out there thinking about playing Assassin's Creed Shadows, I would recommend when you play as Noe, just sort of power through the story quests until you get to the point where you can swap between Noe and Yasuke, because that's when the open world really gets good. That's when the gameplay and the story, I think, really gets good. But before then, it's interesting, but it feels a little more generic because you just haven't unlocked the full breadth of everything yet. Now you can, once you upgrade your hideout, you can like upgrade material and weapons. So if you find a katana that's like a level 5 katana, but it's super rare and it's really good, well, eventually you're going to find level 10 katanas that are common, so you can upgrade that level 5 katana. That's a common mechanic, but that really does allow you to sort of focus on specific weapons that you like and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot more now, and I'm really looking forward to getting into it more. And and again, I can't emphasize how intrigued I am by the story and by the characters, by some of the writing. I think this might be the best Assassin's Creed story like I've ever played. Mirage was okay, but there is a lot of story and a lot of character development in this one, and I'm really impressed by it, and I'm really invested in Noe and Yasuke. Like, I want to know where their stories are going to take them, where their paths are going to go. So yeah,
better than Assassin's Creed 2.
You know what? Well, maybe not, but that's tough to look back on, because when I think about Ezio, I can't just think about AC2. I also think about Brotherhood and the other one, because he was in 3 Assassin's Creeds, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he had a trilogy to himself. So yeah, his character development, where he started off as like a scoundrel playboy and he ended up being an assassin playboy.
An assassin scoundrel playboy.
Yeah. I would love to go back and play those again, because I enjoyed them, but it's been more than 10 years since I played as Ezio, but I absolutely loved those games.
Well, you can get the Ezio collection.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they made an HD collection. Yeah, so I may end up doing that one day. Okay, is there anything else you would like to talk about before we move on here?
No.
Okay, we'll do the ad. Thanks for listening. If you like our content, please consider subscribing or leaving a like and comment. You can find us at patreon.com/thegamingdiscourse. And our tiers are $2, $4, $7, and $10 and include getting your name in the video credits, early access, and access to our Discord server. Okay, so Ubisoft is forming a new subsidiary with funding from Tencent. This was announced in a press release. Tencent has invested $1.25 billion to form a minority stake in the new subsidiary, which will be dedicated to Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six. The deal is expected to close before the end of 2025 and will be exclusively controlled and consolidated by Ubisoft. The new subsidiary, which we don't have a name for, I believe. I don't think they've announced a name. I failed to look at the conference call. So if Ubisoft released a transcript for the conference call, they may have said the name there, but I'll be honest, I completely forgot until now.
Tensoft. Ubisoft.
The new subsidiary will include dev teams from Montreal, Quebec, Sherbrooke, Barcelona, and Sofia, and have its own leadership team supervised by a board of directors. Okay, so I'm not sure if this ends a saga that's been going on for a while, because it seemed like Ubisoft was like maybe courting people. Like, I guess they were courting people to buy them, but we knew that the Guillemot family wanted to remain in control. So it's like they're in this weird situation where they were like, does somebody want to buy us, but not like most of us? Does somebody want to give us money, but not so much that you control our company? And
money me.
Yeah, and Ubisoft had gotten through obviously a tough year with a couple games that didn't hit, Star Wars Outlaws, the X Defiant, etc., etc. So it seemed like and my guess was that if the next big company to be purchased might be Ubisoft, but the Guillemot family, the only thing standing in the way was that it didn't seem like the Guillemot family wanted to give up their control over it. So I don't know if this is the culmination of that, if this ends that speculation and now Ubisoft is back onto strong footing. I don't know. Assassin's Creed Shadows has been successful, but obviously that is just one game. And Ubisoft has come off a year where things have struggled. So yeah, I'm curious if they don't continue to search for suitors or search for other ways to, I don't know, like lift other sources of capital or whatever. I'm not necessarily surprised that Tencent was there. We know that they were in talks with Saudi Arabia at one point, and I'm pretty sure. Embracer, the talks fell through. I think they were in talks with Saudi Arabia, but I don't think they ever made a deal that fell through or anything like that with the Savvy Business Group. You might want to check me on that. But yeah, do you have any thoughts on this? Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, the subsidiary, what can they do here, etc., etc.?
Well, I don't know. I think I know we well, I don't know how much we know exactly, but we know that it's going to include Montreal, Quebec, all of them, and we'll be focusing on Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six. But to are they going to be exclusively developing new games for those franchises? Are they just going to be a support group for those franchises? That changes how this.
Well, I'm
works.
assuming it's the franchises, it's the IPs, right?
Yeah.
So this is like a new subsidiary that is focused on on Ubisoft's titles there. So like Montreal, Quebec, I'm fairly certain are still sort of lead studios. Barcelona and Sofia, off the top of my head, I don't think they are like lone studios developing their own stuff. I think they're support studios. It was Ubisoft Singapore that did the pirate game, Skull and Bones. I think it was Ubisoft Singapore. So in Sherbrooke, I actually don't know. But Montreal and Quebec are obviously two of the bigger like Ubisoft studios that are out there, right? So I assume that it's probably a mix of both, depending on what studio you're talking about. I think these three franchises, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six are in interesting places because Rainbow Six is probably, I would assume, is the most successful out of those three. At least it has been over the past few years because of the success of Rainbow Six Siege. And honestly, I haven't played Siege in a long time, but I know that it has a strong following, and Ubisoft's been really really positive about it. Assassin's Creed was one of the games that I think, one of the titles that was at a crossroads with Assassin's Creed Shadows, right? We heard about this Assassin's Creed live service bullshit they were gonna do. They were gonna like double down on going back to like, what was it? I think it was like biannual. They were gonna try cranking out games, not annually like they did in the past, but like biannually, something like that. But with Assassin's Creed Shadows' success, I don't know how that changes the context of things. Now, Assassin's Creed, I don't know. I feel like I don't know how to react to Shadow's success because it is a good game. It is successful, but does if the next Assassin's Creed isn't that good, what does that mean for the brand? Because at one point, I think the Assassin's Creed brand was just sort of, I don't know, they reinvented themselves with like Origins and an Odyssey, but then Valhalla went back to being like sort of mediocre and not all that interesting. That's not according to me. That's just according to cultural osmosis.
I'll say it. I played it.
Yeah. So it's like, if I don't know.
They said, let's make an Assassin's Creed game, but take out the Assassin's Creed.
So Assassin's Creed is one of those things where it's like, it could either be, this could be great, or we could go right back to it being like an okay franchise. And there's just been so much iteration in it that I feel like, I don't know. I guess you could do anything. You could do a lot of different stuff with it. I don't know if they'd ever want to like completely reboot the franchise or anything like that. Far Cry is the one that I think needs a revitalization the most, maybe. Because I think Far Cry 5 was fine, and Far Cry 6 I think was, I don't know, it didn't grab me at all. I thought it was really just a generic shooter. I didn't think it was, it just didn't, I played it for about 10 hours and it felt like just bog standard open world shooter, not all that interesting. It felt dated. It also felt too easy. Like, you know, you could get tanks and helicopters like really easily. So like in previous game, like I remember in Far Cry 3, I don't think there were tanks. There may have been a couple tanks, but
I think so.
In Far Cry 3, it was like, you really like if you wanted to stealth through a base, you really had to unlock all the different ways to like kill the different guys, to stealth kill an armored guy or whatever, right? So they made it a lot, that progression a lot more satisfying. But Far Cry 5 or 6 just felt like it had the problem of, if you can shoot a guy in the face, you'll be fine. Because you just keep shooting guys in the face, and, you know, or you get into a tank and it's like, you get into a tank and you'll be fine. The aircraft, they had like AA guns that you had to take out, but it's like, okay, you drive a quad over there, you take it out, and who cares? Like, there just wasn't a whole lot of depth or intricacy to the open world. Like, there wasn't any granularity to the gameplay. But I think it would be cool if they really tried to go back to like a Far Cry 2 and I think I'm assuming I'm preaching to a choir here. I think there's probably millions of people who would love Far Cry to go back to like a Far Cry 2 style thing, because Far Cry 2 was innovative and it was different, not perfect, but it really did try to do a different style of open world shooter. And back then, open world shooters weren't as ubiquitous, but like it was more of a survival thing. It was really gritty and realistic, and everything was diegetic, from the map to like finding caches, and I think that may be the future. There is, look to like things like, I don't know, look to things like Stalker, more like shooters that, I haven't played Stalker 2, so I'm basing my Stalker comparison here on previous Stalker games, but shooters that are less mediocre, less generic, right? I feel like with the Far Cry brand, And also the Far Cry brand doesn't mean a whole lot, right? Like I don't know. I think at one point up until Far Cry 4, it was like somebody is whisked away to a place and they're dropped into this like cauldron of violence and insanity, right? Far Cry 5, I don't feel like was like that. You were a dude who was fighting against like
you were a U.S. Marshal.
Yeah, and you were fighting against like doomsday cultists, but it just didn't have the same insanity feeling to it that other Far Cry's did. Far Cry 6, it was just a generic like you're a guerrilla fighter, and Giancarlo, I don't remember the guy's last name. The only Giancarlo I know is Giancarlo Stanton. But
Espinito.
Yeah, Espinito.
Or Esposito.
Esposito. He's like the bad guy, and it didn't feel as like as insane or crazy, right? As previous games where it's like you're being transformed. I remember in Far Cry 3, as imperfect as it is, it's like I'm fairly certain like as your character leveled up and stuff, it's like your tattoo got bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So it's like you assimilated to the island, right? You became this like this lethal like agent, this killer that could hunt down mercenaries and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot more room to grow with Far Cry, and we'll have to see where it goes. Rainbow Six, I would love Rainbow Six to go back to old school Rainbow Six. That's never gonna fucking happen. So I think Rainbow Six is just gonna. I assume it's just gonna continue to be a live service goldmine for as long as they can mine it.
Probably.
And I haven't played it in years. I didn't like back when I was playing it. I thought that the costs to unlock new operators were prohibitive. They were too high, and that's a very live servicey thing to do. It's a very Ubisoft thing to do. So I don't know. Rainbow Six, I think, was innovative. Rainbow Six Siege and how they did the hero shooter / it being tactical with the destruction, that was all really cool. With all the different heroes they added since, it felt like there was like too much, and all the live service stuff was a turn off for me. So we'll have to see where it goes from here. But yeah, as far as Ubisoft as a company, I'm curious again if this sort of shuts down will they get purchased? Are they looking for outside funding?
I think it will.
Yeah.
I mean, an injection of $1.25 billion is a nice little bump in your business.
And it doesn't hurt that Assassin's Creed Shadows has been successful, and that's what you're starting the year off with.
Yeah.
So I don't know if, I'm sure Ubisoft does have a game coming out sometime this year. Maybe not. I don't know. Like a big title. But if the next if the next Assassin's Creed comes out and it's another Valhalla situation where it's really big and it's not that good, and the next Far Cry comes out and it's just another sort of mediocre shooter, and these franchises still don't perform like as well as Ubisoft wants them to, I'm curious how that will suddenly change this thing. And the other thing we haven't talked about is whether or not this is going to lead to layoffs. This new subsidiary, I don't know. There's been speculation, but obviously nothing has been announced yet. So I hope not. Unless it's Yves Guillemot being laid off, that'd be great. But I don't think it's going to be. Anyway, is there anything else you'd like to say about this?
Just wanted to throw in a quick correction. There were tanks in Far Cry 3.
Were there?
There were Type 97 Chihas, and they were all ruined.
Could you drive them?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I meant.
But there were tanks in it.
Okay.
Actually.
Those are World War II Japanese tanks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Chiha. I believe the Chiha was a tank that let me look it up real quick. Maybe it was this one? No, I think it was a smaller one. The Chiha was a medium tank. Yeah, no. There was a smaller tank, a smaller Japanese tank that one of the, there was I don't think it's apocryphal. I think it's true. Like there was a manual about how to take them on, and the tank was so small enough that the manual said that if you encountered one, you could jam your knife into the base of the turret, and you could actually jam the turret, and it wouldn't be able to move anymore. So it's like if you were like on the side of a road and it was going by, you could like climb up, take out your bayonet, jam your bayonet into the bottom of the turret, and then the turret just gets jammed and it can't turn. So still dangerous, but it can know. But I don't think it was the Chi-Ha. It was a light tank. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Looking at Ubisoft's next releases, they don't have anything big coming out this year.
It was the Hago.
This is from...
Sorry, the Hago. The Hago was the tank that you stuck a knife into, and I'm fairly sure that's true. Okay, sorry. So they don't have a release coming out this year?
Yeah, they don't have any big releases. I mean, I guess you could say that Anno 117 Pax Romana is their next quote-unquote big release, because their other 2025 game releases are both mobile games.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Alrighty. I mean, I'm sure they expect big things from that, but and yeah, I guess
big news for the Anno community.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of numbers that Ubisoft's mobile business makes. I assume it's a lot, but I'm fairly certain Ubisoft's most successful title right now is Rainbow Six, I think, and maybe a mobile title in there. I'm trying to think of other games. By most successful, I mean consistently over the past like few years. Yeah. Anyway, okay, moving on. Netflix is doing a lot of stuff with video games, which we haven't talked a whole lot about, but we're going to talk about now. First of all, this comes from Chris Dring's The Game Business newsletter. Chris Dring used to work at gamesindustry.biz. I believe he was laid off along with a couple other great journalists at Games Industry. He has made The Games Business, so his own little newsletter. Go subscribe, check it out, because I've already looked at his stuff. I just discovered it the other day. I think they just started it like a couple weeks ago. But go check it out, because he was a great reporter, and I assume he's gonna take all that and do great stuff here. And if you're interested in games and games journalism, you should be interested in that. But anyway, Netflix Games president Alain Tascan spoke to The Games Business about a bunch of different stuff. I'm going to read some quotes here. These quotes are pretty long, but they're juicy quotes, so I think they are worth reading and then reacting to. So speaking about industry friction, Tascan said, quote, "I love the Wii, and if you look at the games I worked on while at EA, there was a lot of Wii. I am very vigorous about lowering friction and eliminating it if we can. I see that the subscription is friction as well. Maybe good friction because it makes business sense, but still we did the best test of eliminating subscription for mobile game Squid Game Unleashed, and we may do other tests. But the other friction is having enough controllers for family. Having a piece of hardware that might be expensive, that's another friction. Waiting for a game to download, that's another friction. I am looking at all these obstacles and asking if we can reduce them as much as possible. For party games, I believe we can give instant fun, using the phone controller as a very innovative controller. On every phone, you have a gyroscope, you have a microphone, you have a speaker, you have a touchscreen. If you give that to creative people, what do? Whether you're alone or with 2 people or 20, why not? Can we do something really engaging? The same way mobile opened up gaming to go beyond 150, 200 million players to now 3.2, 3.3 billion players. I believe we can reach a larger number of players. Does it really need to be these super complicated RPG style games? There is a place for them, sure, but this for me is what's interesting. Netflix is giving us this opportunity to have access to these people. What do we give them, and in what way, so they can enjoy and engage with games over and over? Okay, so there is a shit ton there. I think I'm going to read the next one, and then we can sort of break this down. So moving on here. So this is on disruption and transmedia. Tascan said, "In our entertainment, we need to push the vision more than anything else and try to disrupt, because I believe the threshold you need to hit for people to be entertained by games is very high. People don't have the patience if something is not really engaging. After 30 seconds, I play something, and if it's not fun, I stop the game. I quit, I delete it from my thing. Sometimes when you bought the game, you might have a bit more patience because you bought it. But now, with the majority of games being free to play, that's not the patience. It's very demanding. In terms of the disruption we can bring, distribution is one, and the other is the phone as a controller. The communication between the phone and the TV, the IP. The transmedia aspect, I don't know exactly which one will work, but we have a few cards to play that are very unique. We have some very special competitive advantages. For instance, for Squid Game, you watch the show, you unlock some currency in the game, but that's just the beginning. Imagine places where you watch something and then something special appears in the game, and maybe in the future you do something in the game and then you watch something because of AI or what have you, and something happens there. We have a lot of things we can imagine and reimagine. Okay, so those two quotes, there was a lot of stuff in those two quotes, and I think in portions of those quotes, Jeff Goldblum is walking up and he's cleaning his glasses right now, and he's saying, that's one big pile of shit, because there's a whole bunch in there. Okay, so Netflix's whole game strategy, I don't know exactly what they are doing, and I don't know if they know what they are doing. And
so I'll tell you what Netflix's
quotes...
strategy is. Netflix's strategy is, let's put video games on here and make a shit ton of money off of it
somehow with AI or what have you.
And that oh my god, that right there just sums it up. Yeah, he worked at EA, or right? Is that what he said? No,
yeah,
working at EA.
Yeah, he worked at EA.
What did you do at EA? Let's be honest here. What were you, just some executive that smoked cigars, drank brandy, and laughed at the pores, or were you actually like on the floor building games? Because if it's the former, then that's clearly evident by how you talk about games. AI or something.
Yeah, I think he has a background in actual game development. I don't remember, but to me the important point here isn't what he's done in the past. It's that Netflix, I don't see. So let's talk about, because there's a lot here. So let's talk about this obsession with the phone as a controller, right? So first of all, that's not a new thing. No. You look at Jackbox Party Pack, right? They do that right now. So Jackbox Party Pack is using a phone when you play it, and you can have people join, and you can have like 10 players in a game or whatever for different Jackbox games. Okay. So Jackbox, you play it on a console, like a Switch or something. Okay. So let's just analyze that one option, that one use case, right? If you have to choose between playing Jackbox on a Switch or Netflix, which one is the better choice, right? If you're planning on playing games, to me, the better choice is Switch, or coming up, Switch 2, because you have a console that's going to be able to play way more games, and it can also play the Jackbox games that are going to use your phone as a controller, right? Mike Morhaime, who is one of the founders of Blizzard, they just announced their game that also uses a controller as a phone. I mean, a phone as a controller, and I'm not sure if their game is going to be released for consoles or not. I'm not exactly sure. But the point is that this idea that Netflix is providing a service that allows you to use your phone as a controller, you can do that with a console. So that's not something that is special about Netflix, right? And the other thing is like, okay, so let's say you pick Netflix to play these games with. Well, now you're paying a monthly subscription, which out of the gate is going to be cheaper. But now all of a sudden you're paying a monthly subscription for something that you have to keep paying for if you want to keep playing these games. Whereas with the Switch 2, say the Switch 2 is $400. You pay $400, you get Jackbox for $50, whatever. Okay, you have that for the rest of your life now, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to pay continuously for streaming services, especially streaming services that are, the pricing is getting more expensive. You may not be interested in what they have on there. And Netflix, I don't have to tell anybody, their way of selecting and producing content, I don't think is good for the content itself. Just when you're talking about movies and stuff like that. Like, I think their whole thing is flooding the zone. It's not about making good stuff to keep people subscribed. It's just flooding the zone with shit. So I don't know. So this thing with like taking away friction, I think is confusing because I don't see the controller as friction. I see the controller as just a optimization of how to interact with a console and play certain games, right? Like, I don't see a keyboard as friction. I just see it as a form factor that is optimized and really efficient at doing a specific set of actions, not a piece of friction that needs to be improved upon, right? Phones will not replace controllers because controllers have certain attributes that are just better than phones, right? The tactile sensation of feeling where the buttons are, being able to, lightly tap the analog stick and stuff like that. Now, sure, do phones have, do they emulate controllers? I'm not speaking technologically, I'm not saying literally, but I'm saying in essence, yeah, sure. You play Fortnite on your phone, you have two little circles where you move your thumbs, and those are essentially analog sticks. But the feeling is not the same, right? And the experience is not the same with PS5's DualSense controller, all the different stuff. Assassin's Creed Shadows does some great stuff with the DualSense controller. That adds to the experience, right? So it's this form factor that is really efficient and that has been iterated on by the industry, by different companies, years and years and years, to get to the point where we have a couple really good examples of how to interact with a console, right? So this idea, I don't know. And I think what he's trying to get at is most people are more familiar with phones, so you want to engage that casual audience, and that's fine. But then what you're going for is a different thing. I don't know. So you're not reducing friction. You're just trying to hit at a different market. I think there's a distinction there, because there are games, like I said, with Jackbox where, you can use a phone because it's more efficient to use your phone to draw and type with than it is with a bunch of controllers. And so you have Jackbox. And in that case, I think consoles are a better option. If I'm somebody that is working on a party game like Jackbox or something, right? And I don't know, someone comes up to me with an option to publish it on Netflix or publish it on a console, like, I think I would be leaning console. Because one, they're going to have larger user bases. Two, I think consoles are more inclined to foster games and content than Netflix is. Again, Netflix's whole relationship to content is like slimy and not at all about quality or anything like that. So it's like, if I'm a creator, I feel like I'm not incentivized to go to Netflix. Sorry, a lot of rambling there. While I was saying stuff, did you have thoughts?
I just wanted to touch in on his idea with, using the phone as a quote unquote very innovative controller. I mean, the next line, on every phone you have a gyroscope, a microphone, a speaker, and a touchscreen. You give that to creative people, what do? He doesn't answer the question. He's just throwing out ideas.
Yeah, and
he's just like, the phone's a technical marvel. There's so much we could do with it. Anyway.
Yeah, and that's the ambiguity of Netflix's strategy. I don't really think they know what they totally have an idea of like what's going on. I think Xbox, when Xbox talks about people playing games wherever they are, I think they have more of an idea of what that means than Netflix does, because you have to have Netflix to play games on Netflix, right? Where Xbox is like, we want to try and open as many gates as possible. The other thing is this AI thing, which just it made me roll my eyes so hard I almost flipped the entire galaxy.
From that, just to go step back from that, his whole, you watch something on on Netflix, and then you get a bonus in game. You just took that from Twitch. That's just Twitch or Twitch extras.
Yeah, and they're similar. Yeah, so it's like I don't. And the other thing about that is that, again, what is your purpose? Like, what is? Why did Netflix get into games? Right? Like, what is their ethos? And if it's just
make money.
This is a thing that makes money, so how the fuck are we going to do it? Then it's like, okay, you're just throwing out a bunch of stupid ideas. If you came out with the idea, we want to make good games, that is not how you do it, I don't think. You don't have to do this thing where you tether your games to your shows and try to create this ecosystem where you're constantly incentivizing people to switch between what they're doing on your service. Now, I understand Netflix views it like that because I think Netflix, like Strauss Zelnick talks about with games, they view everything as a zero-sum game where you have so many hours in the day and we need to keep you in our ecosystem. So that means we have to incentivize you to spend time in our ecosystem. So we have to build games that are engineered to make you come back to our ecosystem. And that's going to go into how we do our shows, where now our shows have to somehow feed back onto games, which then feed back onto themselves. And that just sounds really ugly and at worst predatory, at best fucking annoying, and just like it's not something that I think anybody really wants. You know what? If you're gonna give me some kind of thing because I watched the TV show, how about you just give it to me? How about you just make the game really good and I'll play it because it's really good. I'm not playing it because
then they don't get the engagement.
Because I'm in this cycle of like a Skinner box and you're trying to push me around to different pieces of content. How about you just make it good and I play it because I want to enjoy it because it's a good piece of art and entertainment.
I can tell you why,
that?
Tyler. I can tell you why they're not doing that. Because they don't want to make good games. They just want to make money. That's it.
I mean, I think that's
really
of it.
I don't think there is really much else to it. If they wanted to make good games, they wouldn't be trying to force it into their streaming ecosystem. They would be pushing out to make good games and not trying to figure out, how can I make money off of this? I really wanna.
Yeah, exactly. The driving crooner has got a better chance. Yeah. So I don't know. This interview was like all over the place, and I don't know. I understand knowing your market. Like I understand Netflix. If Netflix comes out and says we don't want super complicated RPG style games, which what the fuck does that even mean? But okay, as if people can't play, but okay, you want like casual audience games. Okay, well, Animal Crossing is a casual audience game, and I would say it's got some pretty complex mechanics, and it's like that was super successful. So I don't know. The thing is, Netflix somehow tying a game business to a subscription model just isn't that complicated. Like it's not that novel. Like it's not all that innovative, right? It's like, how do we make people stay subscribed to our business for games? And I just think they don't know how to do it. And partially because I don't know if there really is like a good way to do it, but outside of the Xbox Game Pass model where you're just putting good games on the service. Obviously Xbox Game Pass is flawed, but I think like that's a good example, right? I think I just had an example in my head. Shit. Nah, it's gone away now. Yeah. Oh, Apple Arcade. I think Apple Arcade is like another maybe example here because it's like, what does Apple want to do with Apple Arcade? It's like the subscription service with exclusive titles, and you play it on your phone, and it's just not because it's, I don't know, it's like they're trying to create something that doesn't need to exist or create it in a context that's just really weird and awkward that doesn't need to exist. And so it's just like, okay, I don't know. I think that's what the trouble with Netflix is it's like, well, how do we keep people subscribed for games? Do we just put games on here? And I think Xbox has shown us one good way of doing that. Now, the problem is Xbox is a different business. Microsoft is a different business. They can spend money in a different way. They can spend it in a way Netflix can't. So Netflix is in a tough spot because they can't just throw Indiana Jones onto Netflix, especially because that would kill like their user base. Or it wouldn't be the market that they're going for, which is like casual games. So I think what it's going to turn out to be, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But I think maybe they do things like that where you have these live service mobile game economies that sort of incentivize you to do other things within the Netflix ecosystem, like watching TV shows or whatever. But it's largely going to be like casual, easy mobile type titles, and you'll be good to go there. I know a lot of them don't have microtransactions, and that's fine. But again, it's like this weird middle ground where they don't want to make premium games. They don't want mobile economy stuff, but they want like the engagement of the mobile economy without the money part of that. So it's very weird and vague. And yeah, when you've got a game boss just throwing around, how about for AI? What do AI? It's like, okay, you really have no idea. I don't know. So. And like, I don't know what I would do if I were Netflix, I would say to myself, again, what's our goal? Is it just to make a shit ton of money? Well, then it doesn't matter what we do. Throw fucking Candy Crush on it, or, Clash of Clans, or why not just do microtransactions? Like, I don't know. Is it because how the transaction would work could be complicated? I don't know. Maybe it's because they don't like the idea that you're already paying for a subscription. So it's like, they don't want people having to pay up more than that subscription or whatever. I don't know. But it's like, if the idea is to foster good games, well, then that's an easy concept that is incredibly complex. But it's defined. Like, people know how to do it. You can hire people to make good games, and they have, but you kind of have to let them do that. You have to get out of their way. And I don't know if Netflix is going to do that. So, yeah, Netflix's whole thing is very strange, and I don't get it. And maybe we'll talk about it more next week or something. I don't know. But yeah, anything else you would like to say?
I did look into it. I found him on Moby Games.
Yeah.
And it is all producer or like C-suite title things. This guy's just, an ideas executive. He's just like, people, AI's up and coming. Let's put AI in our games.
Yeah, I really, I knew he worked at EA.
Wide as an ocean, deep as a puddle.
But I wasn't sure. But yeah, it does come across that way. Like, how about this? Like, yeah.
The kids have phones. Put it on their phone.
Yeah, it does come across Ouya. It's a little Ouya-ish. Which isn't exactly fantastic. Okay.
It's Ouya-ish, and I do mean that as a derogatory.
YouTube.com/gaming discourse. Go to our Patreon page for updates on upcoming stuff. And next week are we talking Switch 2 next week? I think we will be. Yeah?
I think so.
Isn't that this week? I don't know. I guess we'll see. If we do, we'll be talking Switch 2 next week. See ya.
Bye.